The Lobo Coaches Show is presented by Toyota. Let's go places. Hello again, Lobo fans. Welcome on set of your Lobo Coaches Show. I'm your host, Robert Portnoy, with women's basketball coach at UNM, Mike Bradbury. Coach Bradbury, your team continues its roll. 6-0 in league. First time ever in Mountain West play for the Lobos. Congrats. What a start.
Yeah, it's been fun so far. We've played well. We've won some close games, won in some tough places. So couldn't ask for a better start.
You talked about this road trip that you just completed. Difficult styles of play that you would see in Laramie and Fort Collins, and difficult venues, tough opponents. How'd you come away with a sweep?
Well, I think our kids were really locked in and looking forward to the challenge. They knew it was going to be tough. They know how good those teams are and how tough a place it is to play in Laramie and in Fort Collins. And I think just our mental approach to the whole weekend was good.
Mental approach, I can recall you talking about how the non-conference schedule sort of steeled you for games like this on the road in league. You have such an experienced team, but those games before you started league play were huge, weren't they?
They were, and I point back to the tournament down in Houston with Stephen F. Austin and Texas Tech. Those were really tough games we had a chance to win and just didn't, and we fell behind early in those games and battled our way back. And I think those really helped us, and it's I think having a veteran team is why it helped us. It could have crushed a younger team and kind of ruined their confidence. But with our bunch, it motivated them and inspired them to be a little better.
A veteran team that Coach Bradbury has, and they've been really good at the finish of close games. You guys have played so many one-possession games and come out on top in a bunch of them.
Yeah, it's been great. We made some big shots, made some tough shots. We had to make some at Wyoming. We start the fourth quarter at Colorado State tied, and we jump out pretty quick and, like 8-0, 10-0 to start the fourth quarter. Our players have played with confidence and some poise down the stretch, and I think that's helped.
That last game of the two on this recent road trip, Colorado State, you had a big lead. I think it was 17 points at one time in the third quarter. They put on a run at the end of the third, and it's tied. And it looks like that's kind of a tipping point right there.
Yes, it was. We kind of lost our way, and give them credit. They were outplaying us for those last 4 minutes of the third quarter, and we kind of lost our way. We took some bad shots and didn't defend at all. And they made every shot during that stretch. So I think going into the fourth quarter, we were being tested again. And again, I think that non-conference schedule helped us with that too. And we really responded to start the fourth quarter.
One of the big pieces of the puzzle for the Lobo women's basketball team has been the three-point shot. When last we were on the show, we were talking about 21 threes, a program record. You had 19 more in a game on this recent road trip, shot more than 50 of them. The attempts were a program record. That 19 would have been the team's best ever if it weren't for the 21 you'd had previously earlier this season. The three-point shot obviously is a big part of your philosophy. Why is this year's team so good at it?
Well, we have good shooters, and they've made open shots. I think a lot of it is, it's how the other team's going to play you. We've played a couple teams, Boise, San Diego State, and UNLV that ran us off the three-point line, and we barely shot any, and didn't make many. And then we've had teams, their game plan and their approach was to make us shoot a whole bunch of them. And so it just varies with how the other team's going to play. Our focus is we don't really look into or care how they want us to play. We want to take the right shot for whatever that offensive possession is. And if it's a 2-point shot, a layup, or a three, then whatever the right shot is the one we need to take.
I think it's a sign of a great team that regardless how they're defended, they can find ways to score. The three is such a big piece of your offense. But when it hasn't been there, you guys have found ways to score, haven't you?
We have, and we've got, our guards aren't just three-point shooters, or our team's not. We can make plays. We can, play off the dribble some, and we can run stuff that gets us shots in the paint. So again, it doesn't really matter to us what shot we get as long as we're taking the right shot on that possession.
One thing about this team that's always talked about is the great offense. We know your team can score the ball, but to go on runs, you have to be good at the other end too. What about the way your team has developed defensively over the year?
We're okay. I hope we can continue to get better. We're good in stretches, and then we have some lapses. So, if we can get a little more consistent defensively, then I think we have a chance to have a pretty good year. But right now, we're okay defensively and working to get better.
No Lobo team has started 6-0 in league play since the late 90s when the team was back in the WAC. We come back with 2 wins on the road. We start with a win in Laramie. The Lobos and the Cowgirls next. The Lobo Coaches Show is presented by Toyota. Let's go places. Welcome back on your Lobo Coaches Show with the women's basketball coach at UNM, Mike Bradbury. And Coach Bradbury, before we get into highlights of you and the Cowgirls in Laramie, that Dome of Doom, their venue, it's a tough place to play. Why is it so hard there?
Well, I think, one, they're good. They always have a good team, and you're playing at a little bit of altitude for us. And it's not a huge difference, but a little bit more. And they're well coached. They have a good crowd. It's cold. I think they have all those things. There's snow on the ground. We're not used to that. It's just a completely different setting than we're used to. Yeah, it's
7,600 feet of elevation. That's a little bit higher. And then you mentioned the great crowd. And then they're also kind of unique in the way that they play, aren't they?
They are. Their offensive style is they move the ball and they play with pace in the half court, but they won't beat you up in transition very often. They're hard to guard. They're going to hold that ball for 20, 25 seconds, so you have to be really good and sound defensively, and that makes it difficult. And, they always have a good post player, and they always have 2 or 3 kids that can make threes. So, again, the biggest challenge to beating them up there is you have to match them talent-wise.
Well, the Lobos love to play up and down. You love to score. You love lots of possessions. We talk about grinder games all the time and how tough they are. That's kind of what you're going to get when you go to Laramie, isn't it?
It is. And we kind of embrace it. We know it's going to be that way. You can't speed them up. You can't make them do anything that they don't want to do. So you just have to be good on that day.
All right, let's get to the highlights, the Lobos and the Cowgirls in Laramie. So what about this one and the way it started, Coach?
Got off to a good start. It's when you play them, you need to play from in front. If you play from behind, they really control the tempo and dictate how fast the game is played.
So you get an uncontested 3 there from the wing, and I said 7,600 feet of elevation, 7,200, still plenty. But in terms of the way that you guys operated early on, was this kind of the way you wanted it to?
Well, they chose not to guard Shy and AT, and they came out and made threes early. And it worked out that way. Again, that's the different game plans that we see, on a nightly basis, and we have to adapt.
Shy erupts for 26 in this game. I think it was her 5th game of 20-plus points on the season. She's been just amazing for you this year.
Yeah, Shy's been great. And she's played a lot of minutes, between 25 and 30 minutes in most games. This game we were able to get her some rest because Paula was playing so good. So it was, very beneficial for us to be able to rest her. But yes, you're correct. Shy has been playing great.
And talk about AT, and this is the game. 12 points, 9 rebounds. She reaches 1,000 points for her career. She's the 24th in the history of the program to hit that threshold, and only the 17th with 1,000 points and 500 boards.
Yeah, AT's had a great career. She had a really good weekend. In this particular game, she got in foul trouble early, and then but played the whole second half, and it was and played a really good second half.
So here are the halftime stats. You guys have built a nice cushion at intermission, and man, that's a tough shot from the wing.
Yeah, Tora made a couple tough shots in this game, and they were guarding her really tough, and that was a big one because they had made a little run at us.
What about the patience that your guards in particular have to exhibit, because they're such good shooters, and as you pointed out, some teams are going to get right up in their face and make it hard for them to find their shot. Have you seen them go through stretches where they kind of press a little bit?
A little bit against Colorado State, but overall not so much. They know we have capable people at every position, and so only one time.
Have you worried at all, like coming off a great week like Jaden De La Cerda had, and she ends up with 19 points in this game, another terrific game, but she was coming off a terrific week, and you sometimes, a cold stretch can follow that, and it's kind of how you respond to that.
Yeah, I thought Jaden was really good. She was the best player in this game. And the reason I say that is they were trying to take her out of everything, and she managed to get points playing within the offense by curling and getting 2-point shots, and I thought that was big because if they were going to take the Twins away, then somebody else had to pick up that scoring, and I thought she did a great job of that.
So, Antonia Anderson, we mentioned the 1,000-point club. Now, you guys have a game coming up this weekend, and if she takes the floor that night, and we anticipate she will, she's going to be the all-time games played leader in the history of Lobo women's basketball. What a rock for your program.
Absolutely. Shows up every day. She has stayed healthy. She's been able to play a lot of games, and she played as a freshman, and that's how you get to those records. I've been fortunate enough at my last 2 stops to be able to coach the person that's done that and recruited the person that's done that. And everybody wants to talk about who scored the most points, who got the most rebounds, in a career and all that. I think probably the best stat to look at is who's played the most games, because that means they've been rock solid for that program for that amount of games.
Well, and Coach, he hinted at it. The toughest piece of that is coming in as an 18, 19-year-old and being a contributor and getting those games played early in a career when it's tough making that transition.
Exactly, and you got to remember we had Jason and Nike and some pretty good post players back when AT got here, and she was a very good bench player, a very good backup player then.
What about having Nike on your staff?
Yeah, Nike's been great. She's got the same energy on the staff as she had when she was a player.
Let's take a timeout. When we come back, we look at the Lobos and Colorado State next. The Lobo Coaches Show is presented by Toyota. Let's go places. We're back with women's basketball coach Mike Bradbury on your Lobo Coaches Show. And Coach Bradbury, this nice trip that gets from Laramie to Fort Collins, pretty quick turnaround between the games, right?
Yeah, you got less than 48 hours, play a night game on Thursday and a day game on Saturday. So quick turnaround. I think you have to have a good plan. We came to Fort Collins on Thursday night to make sure we were already there for an early practice on Friday.
How was the preparation on Friday? Because you've got that early start coming up on Saturday midday.
I thought it was good. We talked about making sure we were mentally into practice. We only have one day, no excuses. The other team's doing the same thing. So, let's show up, practice hard, get it done quickly, and move on.
In this instance, when you have such a short turnaround, I know the coaches are looking at the next opponent in advance. Do you ever get a chance to show the players some of maybe that next opponent a little early?
We don't, and there's probably a lot of programs that do. We just focus on, okay, we got Wyoming. Let's, do the best we can in that game. And then after that, we'll get prepared and move on to the next one. I want to keep things as simple as possible and not have too much in their head.
So, keeping it simple, you have just that 1 24-hour block to get them ready for that game. What does keeping it simple look like? Do you worry about specific sets the other team runs, or how do you handle that?
We do. We go over that stuff, but we have a simple way of how we're going to guard those things. And then we'll have a couple of adjustments in case that doesn't work. But again, to us, that's simple.
Okay, let's get into the highlights. The Lobos and the Rams from CSU. So how about this one and the way that your team started against Colorado State?
Yeah, it was a bunch of people scoring, scoring early. It's Tora with the quick three. They had a very similar plan to Wyoming. They were not going to guard our 4s and 5s. And our 4s and 5s did not get off to as good a start as they did against Wyoming. But as the game wore on, I thought AT and Shy made shots, and then when Paula came in the game, she also made shots.
Yeah, this was a career game for Paula Reyes. 17 points, 9 boards, 4 threes. all career bests for a freshman. I guess at this point in the conference schedule, there she is. We're not even calling her a freshman anymore, are we?
No, she's played a lot of minutes, and she's very talented, one of the best players on our team. So, no, we let Paula play. She has a lot of freedom in what she's allowed to do.
So you said the 4s and 5s didn't start this game well, but boy, in the end, I mean, AT has a career-high 30 points. She buries a career-best 8 threes. She said after the game, I thought I was taking too many, but Coach just kept yelling, shoot.
Yeah, I mean, she's wide open. I mean, you're going to see one here, just an easy kick out. I mean, you have to shoot that shot. People will say, well, you can't just settle on threes. Well, if you'll look, their 4 and 5 are in the paint. They got one on top of the arc down there and one right on the logo. Okay, there's nowhere to drive it. So you have to make shots. I mean, you can see it was like that all night long with their 4 and 5 just standing. So there's nowhere to drive it. So that's the shot that's available. So you have to have people that can make that shot. And they really came on strong, especially AT.
Well, and then credit your guards, because obviously with the bigs like that sitting down there in the key, that means that the bigs on the perimeter are going to be there and be available and be open. And Tora and Jaden each with 7 assists.
Yeah, and they were willing passers, and I think that's what's good about our team is we're unselfish. We'll throw it to the people that are open, and they have confidence in each other.
And what about the play of Shai in this one? Because Magruder ends up with her 5th double-double. She goes for 14 points and 13 boards, and also 3 block shots.
Yeah, I thought Shai was good. She got on the board. She ran the floor, and that was able for us to get some open threes on the perimeter. Rebounding was the biggest thing she did in this one.
One thing that we have to point out, and there's another 3, is Antonia Anderson. She carried your team in the third quarter. She was incredible. 16 points in the third quarter alone.
Yeah, and I thought she passed up some open shots. And we kept telling her, you got to shoot it, and she's not a kid that's used to shooting 26 times. Okay, it may take her a month to shoot 23s. And she did that in one game. But that's the shot that was available, and we had to take it if we wanted to have a chance to win.
Now, we talked about in our open that the Lobos built a big double-digit lead in the third quarter of this game, but then CSU went on a late run at the end of the third to tie it. There was a 9-0 spurt for you guys in the fourth that put the game away, put you guys back out front in double figures. What did you guys do well?
Well, we finally stopped them a couple times. The last 5 minutes of the third quarter, we couldn't stop them. They scored every possession. So that's how they got it back to even. And then I thought we got a couple stops, a couple good defensive rebounds, which then allowed us to score some in transition.
Okay, this is always one I love to ask a coach, because they think just one game to the next. But these are young kids, and sometimes they can read press clippings. It happens. And your team now has won 7 in a row. You're 6-0 in league. You want to make sure that they stay focused on the next task at hand, don't you?
You do, and hopefully since our team is older, they'll do that. They know we're only 1/3 of the way through the season, through the conference season. So long way to go. We've got a bunch of games in a short amount of time starting on Saturday. We'll play 4 games in 8 days. The conference stuck one in there to make it a little more difficult. And we'll try to handle that the best we can, but it's only 1/3 of the way through.
Well, speaking of unfinished business, it's almost a cliche, but you guys win a regular season championship a year ago, but that NCAA berth is still out there, that carrot at the end of the stick. How much is that something that has been talked about from the beginning of the year as a goal? And do you even think about things like that?
We've never talked about it, and it's not a goal. Our goal today is to get better at practice and try to win the next game. I'm not very good at looking too far out, and because I just don't know what good it does you to look out there. So we'll try to keep taking them a game at a time, and we'll see how it shakes out in the end.
Okay, we're going to come back after a timeout. Before we do, though, you do have a week here with a bye midweek, so you can look ahead a little bit.
Yeah, we can, and through practice and preparation, we can start doing some different things and maybe wrinkle some things offensively and defensively that'll help us down the road.
Okay, we come back after the break, we wrap it up, we preview Fresno State on the Lobo Coaches Show. The Lobo Coaches Show is presented by Toyota. Let's go places. Back to close things out on your Lobo Coaches Show. I'm Robert Portnoy with women's basketball coach at UNM, Mike Bradbury. Coach Bradbury, let's reflect on a great historic start to conference play. Since the Mountain West was formed back in 1999, no Lobo women's basketball team had even gone 5-0. Now you're 6-0. How's your team done it?
Well, I think being consistent. We've been locked in, for a little bit now, played well. And I think we've won some close games. There were games in there that we could have lost. But we were able to sneak out and get some one-possession wins. And I think that's the only way you can win a bunch in a row, especially in this league. The league is good. This is as deep as it's been in a while since I've been here. So you got to get a few lucky bounces, and then you also have to play well.
I guess with a balanced league, that keeps you battle-tested week to week, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we've had one game that was a little bit lopsided. Other than that, every game's come down to the last couple minutes.
Okay, the Lobos coming off of consecutive wins on the road. Now they get a home game after a bye midweek. Fresno State comes to the Pit on Saturday at 2 p.m.
Yeah, another good team. Obviously, they were picked to win the regular season. We'll have to be on top of our game to have a chance to win. They've got the two best players in the league. In the Cavender twins. They've got a really good supporting cast. So, we got our hands full on Saturday.
Yeah, with the NIL breakthrough in college sports, the Cavender twins are national stars now. What makes Fresno State so tough?
Well, you start with those two. They're well coached, and they're used to winning.
Okay, well, we wish you best of luck. I know you've got a nice week of preparation, can look ahead a little bit and get ready for Fresno State. The Lobos and the Bulldogs in the Pit coming up. Go get them, Coach.
All right, thanks, Robert.
That'll do it for us for now. So long, everybody, and go Lobos.